Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Piqua City Schools Board of Education. It is Thursday, May 18th. Mr. Hiddle, please call roll.
Mr. Frazier.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Bostic.
Here.
Mr. Ford.
Here.
Mrs. McMacken.
Here. Okay, if everyone can please stand and join in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So after reviewing our agenda for tonight, if there are no changes to be made, may I get a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. For our minutes from last month's meeting, if there are no changes to be made there, can I get a motion to approve those?
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion approved. And Mr. Bostic, do you have an Upper Valley Career Center update?
Well, this summer, they're going to do a project. They're going to be paving the gravel student lot to expand. And, don't have any definite information, but the programs are really gaining foothold. So they've got a lot of students that are very interested in a lot of programs they have. The numbers are up. So that's exciting. The downside is, depending on the program, some of the more popular are exploding. So they're not going to be able to handle everybody. Some of the other programs, you don't get quite as many. But that's a good thing to have, real interest. And so we're looking into things, possibilities. So.
Do they ever have to put a cap on how many can participate in certain?
Yes,
they do.
That's the thing, yes. And they've got, there may be some expansions of satellites as well. That's something being looked at. No definites yet. So, when we find out for sure, I'll let you know. But at least it's gaining foothold.
Yeah.
More interest.
That's great. Okay, thank you. No one here from the public to speak on agenda items, so we can move on to Mr. Hiddle's treasurer's report.
Good evening. This is the fun stuff where I'm trying not to put you to sleep and explain everything as fast as possible. Right?
Too late.
Oh, Mr. Ford's already out of it. So the great things to take away from this is we still have a positive cash balance through the forecast time period of June 30th of 27. Our long-term projections have been holding on target. I've let you guys know, like, we've been in the black since 2007. We're still on target this year, and then into future years, you'll see in 26 and 27 that it goes into the red. But again, I don't have a crystal ball and don't know what the state's going to do, so it always looks like that until we have more information. This is the worst 5-year forecast time because I'm giving you a forecast in May, and the budget is going to be out at the end of June, and then really we should be doing this forecast in like August so that we had an idea, or September. But anyway, this is the way the state does it, so this is what we do. The state budget is, and the fair school funding plan is the big impact on this. Right now, it looks like they're going to continue phasing in the fair school funding program. But the other part of that is that there's a backpack bill out there that I've discussed in the past about being able to take funds away from the district and go to whatever district that you want to. So if that happens, it's something we have to keep an eye on and can impact, which makes it that enrollment's the key factor in state funding rather than where a student's district of residence is. So those are the big things. This is a little summary of what FY23 is wrapping up to look like as far as where the money comes from. Almost exactly half of it's coming from state sources and almost exactly half of it's coming from local sources. So the biggest chunk that you see on there is the state foundation, and then real estate taxes are the next, and then income taxes are the next. General fund operating expenditures, you see we are a people business, so 24 or 74% of what we're doing is related to wages and benefits. And then again, of that services, 21 and a half, over $3 million. So that number is actually salaries to ESC employees and programs. So just to keep those things in mind when you're looking at it. So it's a people-based. If you look at the materials and the capital investments and stuff, it's very little compared to everything else that's going on there. And it shows you that we're spending less than the previous slide that said, backwards, 41,463, and this is 38,362. So we're operating in black. This shows you that our blue line revenues are staying above our expenditure lines for the duration out beyond 25, 26, and 27, like I said, are in the red at the moment, but that's always subject to change. And our ending cash balances are well above the 60 days that we're mandated to have, and that would put us into a fiscal emergency kind of problem. So again, we're fiscally healthy and things are in a good shape. The numbers that you have with you in the 5-year forecast are post-negotiation numbers, but obviously pre-budget numbers from the state. So just to keep that in mind when you're looking at that. The bottom line is we have to be vigilant with the budget cycle that we're currently in. I'll likely end up in Columbus at some point to testify. We've been testifying. Good news is, at this point, the Fair School Funding Plan is in the legislature, but we'll see what happens. It's passed the governor's bill, the House's bill, and now we're waiting for the Senate to take action. And then we got to watch out for the voucher programs, expansions, the backpack bill, those kind of things. And then the good news is we're financially stable for the next 3 years. At this point, obviously always subject to change if something crazy comes out of Columbus, but we're in good shape at this point. That's all I have, unless you guys have questions on that.
Jeremy, what was the bill you talked about a couple of meetings ago where they want to squelch any talking of levies or anything? Where we wouldn't be able to yay or nay or whatever?
So,
Where's that bill at?
so when you're talking about the superintendent and treasurer not being able to talk about levies, is that what you're talking
Or
about?
board members or?
Board members are supposed to run levies.
Okay.
That's the new.
Yes.
That will be the new position that will be coming out of the Auditor of State's office at some point in time, unless something is drastically changed in that from that draft. Basically, that they're saying that the superintendent and treasurer aren't to, because we work constantly, we're 24/7 employees, that we are not allowed to participate in electioneering. So we can't run the levies, we can't be part of that conversation, we can't get involved, we have to stay at an arm's distance. We can say only factual information, but we can't do any kind of pro campaigning type of stuff.
Now, I thought the thing that you handed out that I read, it said nobody would be able to say this will happen or that will happen if this, you couldn't project anything.
Thanking the voters after.
Yeah, we couldn't thank them if it's
Right.
passed or do
We
anything
can't
like
have any
that.
materials on, and those facts have not come out yet. There is an
Okay.
FAQs that's coming out of the auditor's office, and I'll definitely share it when it's available.
Okay.
It's been drafted, then we gave them a bunch of feedback, and they took most of our feedback, but not all of our feedback is what I've been told. I don't know what they took or didn't take.
What bill was that? Do you
It's
remember?
not a bill, actually.
Oh, it's just, okay.
It's a new interpretation of a law that's been in existence, and this is due to one bad apple causes all of us to be punished. And so there was some shenanigans with a district close to here that involved using personnel to electioneer and campaign and send out pro school district
Right.
stuff on public employees' time, and that's a problem. You can't use public time to campaign with. So this is where this is all started from. So it's created lots of questions through that process, but it's not a bill, it's just a reinterpretation of the law and how the auditor of state's gonna handle things. Somehow they're like, we didn't want this job, but somehow we've been put into now in charge of policing campaigns, and so now we're going to have to put out FAQs because it's been dumped back on the auditor's state's office to deal with. So I'll give you more of that once we know what that is. House Bill 1, we've talked about House Bill 1 a little bit in the past. It is pretty much dead at this point in time because there's new language in House Bill 33, which is the budget bill. that basically makes the state look at how property taxes are used in Ohio and reevaluates how they do that. There'll be a committee set up to do that. So it sounds like House Bill 1 is going to be put to bed, and they're still going to reduce the income tax down to 2.75% for everyone who pays income tax, which I think is above $50,000 or something like that annually. So those things have been, House Bill 1, I was giving you warnings the last time. It looks like that's been taken care of at this point in time, but could resurface 3 years from now when we do this all over again.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Proceed with your agenda.
Financial reports are attached, and again, as I said in our presentation there, fiscally right on target with where we expected to be this year, another year where we end in the black, and then approving the 5-year forecast so that I can submit that to the Ohio Department of Education, and then we have some fund-to-fund transfers and advances. I'm going to return the advance that we did to the account that we put the money in from the Upper Valley Medical Center. They had wrote the check to us, so we have that money and we're able to bring that back into the general fund because the general fund advanced that account to pay for the new turf that's been installed. So that's done and ready for graduation, and it looks really good. If anybody's been out there since it's been installed, it's a big difference. Looks really good. See, I'm getting nods of. And the track has now been cleaned, and next up, it's going to need painted here within a year, but it's not as new as you think it is. Like, it feels like I put it in like a couple years ago, and it's been like seven years now, I think.
My first year, I think, in this position.
Yeah,
But the cleaning really made a
it made
big,
it look totally different.
big difference.
Yeah, really good.
How many times can you clean that before you just need to get a new?
This track can last up to 20 years. I mean, when we bought it, we bought a really good, like better than average track. It's more found on college campuses. So this should at least last 20 years,
Okay.
so we're told. I mean, there's maintenance and things that have to be done. And if it was leveled out properly, we wouldn't have water on the. I'm not going to go completely down into the gutters, but he knows. If it was leveled out properly, we wouldn't have water in lane 1. That's the thing that I worry about the most is how long lane 1 will survive. Will it really last 20 years? I don't know.
Well, you can do a steeplechase, right, Steve? You got
20 years, sure.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation. But yes, it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is at this point. Otherwise, are there any questions about the other transfers on there? Basically, we go in and clean up old accounts, stale accounts, those kind of things, so that we, and then we have to move the money to pay for the COPS issuance for debt service that we did. So, and that's just a PI thing to the debt account. That's all I have.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hill, please call roll.
Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Ford.
Aye.
Mr. Frazier.
Aye.
Mr. Bostic.
Aye.
Mrs. McMacken.
Aye. The treasurer's agenda is approved. So Mr. Thompson was unable to join us tonight, but for his report, I think he wanted to make sure we could get our valedictorian and our salutatorian introduced.
Absolutely. Mr. Messick, would you like to introduce these wonderful young ladies?
I will. I'll start out with Kirsten Shanefeld. She's our salutatorian. So the reason why we want to have them out here is just to show you what all your guys' work has produced. All right. So Kirsten's going to come up here and tell a little bit about what she's done at Piqua High School, where she's going to school, and just a little bit about just her schooling in general at Piqua schools. Okay? You good to go? Let's get that mic for her. She's used to singing.
Well, I was going to say, she's got this down, but.
Thank you. I'm Kirsten Shaneyfelt. I have been a member of show choir for 4 years, where I was a dance captain, marching band for 5 years, where I was a section leader, tennis for 3 years, where I've been a captain. I've been involved in lots of community activities like Big Brothers Big Sisters, National Honor Society. I am the treasurer for my school, or for my class. I have been for the past 3 years. I'm constantly staying involved. I'm in the musicals, just all throughout different sections of the school, staying involved. I plan on going to Ohio State next year, where I'll be studying psychology. And I'm very excited for that. And I feel like being at the school has really helped prepare me for this experience. I feel very well prepared, and yeah, I'm excited. Thank you.
Thanks, Kirsten.
And our valedictorian, Zoe Leisure. Forget it, man.
Hello. I'm Zoe Leisure. I have been in show choir for 4 years. I'm a section leader this year as well. I've been in marching band 5 years. I've been in musical for 4 years. I had a lead in this past show, which was really cool. I've been in Harry Potter Club, Link Theaters, NHS, Interact Club, senior class president. There might be more, I don't know. But I'm also going to Ohio State, but I'm studying music education, which I'm really excited for because music is a really big part of my life, if you couldn't tell based on the activities that I do. And I think that the high school has been really helpful because it was the first sort of place that I went that challenged me academically because I was kind of one of the kids that didn't study a ton in school in like my middle school, elementary years, and I was fine. But it was cool to go to the high school and actually have to work hard because I think that taught me a lot. And so, yeah, that's about it.
I think that they're definitely selling themselves short. They're amazing young women. Last night I got to spend the night, the evening, I guess, with them. We went to the Excellence in Education dinner from Miami County, and they got to speak about the teachers that had the biggest impact on them, and the qualities. It wasn't they taught me math the best. It wasn't that I learned so much about sociology. It was the impact I had on their lives, the relationships that was built, with them that made them want to be in those classes. Taking those classes just because they were the teacher just goes to show that how much that bond between student and teacher is so important for us to foster with our students. The other part is they do everything. I mean, they do everything and they excel at everything, and that's just. I mean, these are future, leaders, women leaders. You guys are pretty impressive, and so I just want to thank you guys for everything that you've done. All righty.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
We look forward to seeing you Friday night. Not tomorrow.
I was
next
hoping we'd have a
Friday.
Just Us preview, tonight.
What's that?
Have a little Just Us
I
preview.
told them that ahead of time, but they said I forgot the sheet music. It's my fault.
We will technically see them
And I
tomorrow
just
night.
have
sorry.
a really quick question regarding what he mentioned from your event last night. So what age or what grade level was the teacher that each of you mentioned?
So I had Mr. Lytle, my sophomore and junior years.
Okay.
He taught me pre-cal and calculus, and I still, he convinced me to join Science Olympiad. So I was in that for 2 years, so I spent a lot of time with him this year as well.
Awesome. How about you?
I chose Mrs. Pace, and I had her my sophomore year for Edison American History, and then I took her sociology class this year. And yeah, so I visited her a lot when I was a junior as well.
these teachers have an opportunity to be very impactful. So it's interesting who they pick out from all that they've had. That's awesome. Well, it's nice to meet you guys, and you are welcome to go or you're welcome to stay. But we appreciate you coming and introducing yourselves.
Probably got practice for just us.
Good luck.
Yes,
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
So that's all we have for the superintendent's report tonight. We're not going to do any other buildings, so well, how could you follow that anyway, right? So
So we can move on to
We can move on.
Mr. Thompson's agenda that you're going to cover.
Yep. So recommend board approval of the attached list of donations and grants, and those are Red Tree Investments. All these first 5 or 6, 7 are all going to the Indian Nation Station for the golf outing. So that will be Red Tree Investments, Brown Supply,
Lovely koozies.
Archon, Zimmerman, Reek, Minutemen, and RDA, the architect group. And then the A.M. Leonard donation is for Veterans Night. And the 2 grants, thanks to Mr. Bloom, Piqua Education Foundation for the National Archery School Program. We're excited about that. And then the Ohio Division of Wildlife, again, for the archery program that is going to be implemented for next school year. Yep. So asking board approval for those. Recommend board approval of the attached list of lunch and school fees. And if you've had a chance to take a look at that, you probably noticed some increases in some of those areas. We talked with Mr. Thompson and Jennifer Garland about the lunch fees specifically because they're going up slightly, but we're still in a place that's very competitive, I would say, comparatively speaking, as far as lunch fees go. And at this point, we can't remember the last time we had an increase in those fees, but we know that we're spending way more on the output than we are getting in order to operate consistently for the near future. Especially, we're going to have to continue to look at those a little more closely each time they come up.
So how much is it going up?
So each one of them is
It's 55 cents for
lunch.
the high school lunch.
Yep.
For example, it's a quarter for breakfast for the high school. And again, it sort of varies because the lower grades are a little bit less because
Yep.
the food quantity is less that we're able to serve them. What's been happening is the meals that we've been serving are over by 55 to 75 cents every time that she's selling a meal to paying students. So at 225, we were not collecting enough to cover what was happening with the food costs. With labor increases that we're seeing and food increases that we're
Absorbent
seeing,
food increases.
double the price on a case of pineapple. She used to get it for $40, it's $80. So, I mean, there's just stuff like that that we can't control. With that being said, we've been really focusing on improving the food quality, so while we're being crushed with inflation costs, we also are trying to listen to what the students want to do with the food, but we're given a very small box with calories, like what they're allowed to have and how contained it has to be, so it's a balancing act.
The
you
nutrition
reference that?
requirements are
How many
tough.
people pack? Do a lot of people pack at the high school?
Our numbers had gone up significantly, and I think they're starting to level out a little bit. We have numbers of kids who don't buy lunches,
Yeah.
and then the numbers of free and reduced lunches that go out. So you can kind of subtract the other kids, for example, that don't buy. They're probably packing something. But every kid gets a meal regardless of whether or not they show up with money. So it's not as if somebody doesn't plan on that meal, and if they come up to the register, they're going to get the same meal that any other kid gets. So those kind of come out of that number as well.
Yeah.
But we can get those numbers and take a look at them too. Our numbers of lunches that are coming out of our kitchens is significantly higher than it was several years ago.
Pre-COVID, they're
Yeah.
higher post-COVID.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. I mean, overall, everything is operating and functioning well. It's just this tweak had to be made. I mean, most high school lunches are over $3 or higher now is the average, and we're going to be at $2.75. So we're well below what can't even go to McDonald's and get something for that kind of money. So even if you doubled it up, you couldn't buy anything at McDonald's for that. So just keeping that in perspective of where we're at. I mean, everything has gone through the roof, and so we had to make that change. The other thing that's on there is school fees. The K-6 level are getting workbooks. Again, we're going back to changing our math program, and there's a disposable workbook as part of that process. So we're going from $20 to $30. And the agenda costs that we were getting at the junior high and high school level have also gone through the roof, and so we had to raise that. And so the high school is now $30 as well. Our fees are way below any other competitive or any other school in our block. So we still have the lowest fees in the area, and we're going to continue to waive pay to participate fees. So it's been a long time. I think Tony said it's probably been 17 years or something
I
like
think
that.
I remember it once, maybe when I was an assistant principal or principal, I can't remember. It's been a long time since we've had that discussion about fees, and it's, at some point you have to make that adjustment while trying to keep them low and reasonable for people. So, any other questions on fees? And then recommend board approval of the attached student handbooks. I'm not sure that you had a chance to go through those. I can tell you that with the help of Emily and Dwayne, everybody had a lot of eyes on those, so they're up to date and include all the adjustments in language and law as well. Recommend board approval of the attached list of students for issuance of a diploma from the Piqua High School dated May 26, 2023. And recommend board approval of the attached list of library books from Spring Creek Elementary for disposal, removal from the inventory of the Piqua City School District. And if you remember the last time we did that, might have been last meeting, Dwayne mentioned, those are for outdated books, books that aren't circulating anymore, or very low circulation, or they're in very poor condition. Those are the reasons that they would be removed from the libraries. Questions on any of those items?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve the superintendent's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Superintendent's agenda is approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Lyons, you can proceed again with the
Well,
personnel.
I appreciate that. As you know, it's hiring season, so you see some people that are coming in. We have 4 new folks on the agenda, items 6 through 9. And it just so happens that we have Ethan Campbell here tonight with us, who has graciously agreed to come on board as an intervention specialist out at Spring Creek Primary. And yeah, Amy's cheering over there because that's been our challenge this year, is getting great intervention specialists. And I can tell you that having got to spend some time with him myself during that process, he's going to be a superstar out there. So if you'd like to come up and say a few words, you're welcome to do that. They love when I do that. He gets to come back in August too. See, I know.
My name is Ethan Campbell, and I'm actually from City. I just graduated from Shawnee State University in Southern Ohio, April 29th, and I am super excited to get started. So thank you guys so much.
Congratulations.
Yep, great to have you on board.
Yeah.
And then, like you see, there are a few other folks that will be coming on board, and we'll bring the whole group. You'll get a chance to meet everybody because we're going to have, hopefully not too many more additions, but we're going to have a reasonably sized group, I think, by the time August comes around. So outside of that, on the personnel agenda, we always talk about trying to get transportation people and things like that to come in. We do have a job fair for transportation on June 3rd. So some of the folks over in that department came up with some really great ideas. We met as a team, and they're rolling that out on June 3rd. Got lots of information coming out on social media and different areas, but the goal is we'll have several stations set up that'll be supported by our transportation department. So the drivers, the directors, those kinds of things, people will actually be able to get into a seat, feel what that's like behind the wheel of a bus. They'll get to ask questions of drivers to kind of dispel some myths about what driving's like, because you get that information out there too. We're actually going to do some on-site interviews if people are interested, and try to get people to commit to at least coming into that front end of training. to hear a little bit more about us. And like I told Jeremy today, if we get 5 new people from that just showing up, we might be able to get a couple more people to get in those seats and really build out our crew there so that we're solid throughout the entire year. So that's going to be June 3rd. Share that with every person that you know is interested. It's a great job. You ask the drivers, they'll tell you it's a hard job, but they'll tell you it's one of the best jobs they've ever had too. Pays $21, $23 an hour to start. Full benefits are available, and we almost always find the ability to have additional work to help support people kind of between the driving jobs and then in the summer sometimes too. There's a lot of different kind of opportunities to get extra hours. And then, of course, the benefits package that's available too. So
Where is this job?
it's going to
fair?
be everything's going to be at the high school. Of course, we have the buses there, so we'll be able to use the lot to let people kind of check out the buses, but they will be in the student union, the new union there for all the rest of the work.
What class of CDL license do they need?
B,
B?
passenger, right?
Passenger and school bus. PNS.
Yeah. So they, essentially, the biggest thing that they do on their own is get the permit. Once they pass the permit, we do the rest of the training, and they get paid to train. So, and then at the end of all of that, all they have to do is pass the test. So they're gonna have tons of hours behind the wheel with us before they ever get there. And again, all that time's paid. And they're not gonna put you out there for the exam unless we are comfortable. So even though they say 12-hour minimum, you're gonna have 19, 20, 24 hours behind the wheel before we're gonna send you out there to take that test. So, it's a good job. So, any other questions for personnel? Okay.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the personnel agenda?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Hiddle, please call roll on that.
Mr. Bostic.
Aye.
Mr. Ford.
Aye.
Mr. Frazier.
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell.
Aye.
Mrs. McMaster.
Aye. Motion carries and the personnel agenda is approved. Nothing for old business and for new business.
These are just the Neola updates that came. We met with our rep from Neola and went through these are all legal updates or language updates. Most of them this time were language updates, if I remember back correctly. And this is the second, in our case, the final read for those. Unless you have questions, we can review any of that too.
And again, most of these things can simply be just adding words, taking away.
Yeah, and one I looked at earlier, it was literally a spelling correction. So when we get that, we got to update it in the policy. And then some of them have a paragraph addition based on a law adjustment or change. But that's what they are. The policies themselves aren't changing. The content of some of them is, and again, most of them are small language changes.
Okay. If there's no other questions, may I get a motion to approve the second read, final approval of the Neola policies?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Do we need a roll call for this? No. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And nothing for non-agenda items. So our next regular meeting will be here on Thursday, June 22nd. And may I get a motion to move into executive session?
I have a question first.
Oh, yes.
We didn't talk about this. That was the supplemental contracts.
Mhm.
Did we vote on that? I didn't.
It's in the personnel agenda.
I voted for it. But, okay,
Okay.
fine. We did.
Okay. Okay.
Can we go back and do that one separately or as part of the personnel agenda? Or is that not a thing?
We can.
We can, want to,
We'll approve
everything except,
line
15.
yes.
So previously, we approved everything with the exception Well,
Did
do
you
wanna
want,
talk
yeah, you
about
want
it
to talk about it?
first?
No,
Okay,
I'm just going to vote it down. I'm just not going to vote for it.
Okay.
okay. Can I get a motion to approve the supplementals?
So move.
And did you get a chance to look at the supplementals, everybody else? So you know. It's just part of the personnel agenda, so I think we just kind of included it. Can I get a second to approve?
Second.
Okay. All in favor signify, well, I guess we'll have to do a roll call. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mitchell,
Aye.
Mr. Frazier,
Aye.
Mr. Bostic,
Aye.
Mr. Ford,
Aye.
Mrs. McMacken.
Aye. Okay. But you didn't have any question? Okay. Okay. So now, can I get a motion to move into executive session?
So move.
Second?
And no action to be taken? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries, and we will now